the leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98Talk.com. You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, Internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
Red State Talk Radio. Talk radio the way the Founding Fathers would have done it.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please? America Off the Rails has been declared a conservatives-only safe zone. Only conservatives allowed from this point forward. Any liberal, socialist, butthurt, hippie, tree huggers, please exit the facility immediately. Again, attention please. America Off the Rails is now designated as a conservative safe zone only. All butthurt, tree-hugging, hippie, free-to-be, you and me types exit the facility immediately. Thank you.
We will keep this promise to the American people. If you like your doctor, you will be able to keep your doctor, period. If you like your health care plan, you will be able to keep your health care plan, period.
This is the most transparent administration in history. Not even a smidgen of corruption.
Fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. What difference at this point does it make?
If you got a business, you didn't build that.
Welcome to the face. Welcome to the face of the new democracy. Don't expect us to admit a mistake. We're paying off election.
Keep on doing what you do, Rick. You're my favorite host.
It's time to hear the truth about America's biggest challenges. You're listening to America Off the Rails with your host, Rick Robinson.
Thanks, Mike. Checks in the mail. All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson, a.k.a. The Rowdy, when you are listening to me right now on Red State Talk Radio. So if you are hearing the sound of my voice, it means either you have a backstage pass, and some of you know who I'm talking to, or it is really early on a Sunday morning, whichever the case may be. All right, so I hope you've got some coffee. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about. I want to apologize to all of you up front. I was at CPAC. You may have seen me wobbling around, running back and forth. For those of you who I promised to make a trip by the Red State booth to make sure that if anybody was there that wanted to meet me, I would be there. Sadly, I was running around like a crazy person for the entire trip. I didn't even really have any time to enjoy any of the speakers or the convention type stuff because I was too busy running back and forth in between having people help me book guests and trying to get meetings set up for other stuff and doing a million other things, and not to mention occasionally trying to sleep. So I do... actually, a whole group of us that came down with K98 Talk that were running back and forth between our stuff and WNJC for the entire thing have decided this will now be an annual event for us. Well, I don't know if I can say this on here, so heck or high water. Basically, we had so much fun with it that we have now decided that every year we are going to find a way to make it to CPAC. So if I missed you this year, I promise I will be there next year, and I will try to make an effort to figure out where the heck Red State was, because the thing about it is Radio Row was huge. You have to understand, I'm from a little bitty state. I mean, we're big. We got lots of territory, but no people. So when I went to SRLC, when it was in Oklahoma City, almost a year ago now, our Radio Row was like 8 booths, 4 on one side, 4 on the other. Broadcast Row at CPAC was like 1 million booths. I mean, it was like a freaking half-mile long, and it made an L turn. So, yeah, I mean, it was really hard to keep up with who was where, and I was running back and forth in a million different directions anyway, because the freaking hotel that housed the CPAC convention was basically its own self-contained city. It took me 10 minutes, almost 15 minutes, to walk from my room to Broadcast Row, and I was in the hotel. I'm just saying. All right, so enough with me ranting about CPAC. We'll probably talk about that in a minute, but of course, since this is the first live broadcast I have done since this happened, there was some really sad news here in the Red State Talk Radio realm right before I left for CPAC, and that was the passing of one Primo Mandalone. I think I may have just butchered his last name. For that, I do apologize. He actually only said it to me once. Most of the time when we conversed, it was via email. And I don't really have that much to say about him because we'd only been working together for a few months. But you don't need... I don't need to know the man to tell you this, at least not as well as some of the folks have done, and I've heard some of the shows where they have talked about him, and they've done so elegantly and eloquently, and I just want to at least give you my take on it, because like I said, I'm fairly new around here. It's been, I think, about a year since my show's been over here, and we've been doing it now for, good Lord, has it really been almost 4.5 years? Doesn't seem that long. I was thinking about that the other day when I heard the update about the Tokyo, or the big earthquake in Tokyo that was like 5 years ago. Because I had just started the Facebook page around that time, and the show happened like 6 months after that. But anyway, so back to what I was talking about before. Primo. I have to tell you, first impressions, the guy scared me to death. I'm not even going to lie. I mean, Red State is probably one of the most preeminent internet-based radio networks in the country, if not around the world. And the fact that I was able to shoot him an email and say, hey, little old me would like to see about putting my show over here. And not only did he say yes, he actually encouraged me to do so, was really kind of scary at first. It was one of the first pickups that we had here with America Off the Rails. And there were at least a couple of other shows that came over to us after that actually beat me over here. But I have to tell you, the thing that was scary about Primo is he would send out group emails, and you would never know for sure if it was you that he was talking to. And me as the new guy, every time he sent out one of those group emails, I said, hey, you're getting it wrong again. You got to check your levels. I'm like, is he talking to me? I swear I listened to the whole thing all the way through before I sent it, and it sounded okay to me. But yeah, that was just Primo. Everything had to be spot on. Everything had to be perfect. The timing had to be impeccable. And that's just the way he was. And honestly, yes, he scared me when I first started. He intimidated me. And there were times when anytime I saw an email with his name on it, I cringed before I opened it because I was like, oh, what did I do now? Come on, Primo, be nice to me. Remember, I'm the new guy. But yeah, I mean, eventually, a lot of what I've learned being here on Red State, we have implemented on my home network. Some of the sponsors that you've heard that we play are because Primo helped me figure out how to get that done. Some of the format ideas that we're using now that he used were his idea. So the thing about it is, not only was he running one of the preeminent internet-based radio networks in the country and, again, possibly around the world, he was also an innovator. He was the one that and he was willing to do it, and it's the same thing that I do on my network. I don't care who takes my ideas and runs with them, as long as we're getting the message out. And that's been his point all along, is I want to work with you, pardon me, and I don't really care whether you do things on your own or you do them with me or we do them as a team. And he's one of the only other people that I have met in this industry that do things that way. Everybody else is all about, how can I get my numbers bigger? How can I get more people to my page? How can I do this? The thing that I figured out, even with the short time that I was with Red State before Primo passed, is he didn't worry about the small stuff. He knew if he brought the content, the numbers would be there. And he showed us emails after emails after emails every single month that validated that point. This has got to be one of the most listened to internet stations around. I've seen the numbers every month. Our numbers are good. Red State's numbers are phenomenal. I mean, for doing what we do and being as small as we are right now, K98 Talk and the Spark has got a pretty good market going. And we're growing the numbers and we're doing what we've got to do. But Red State, at least from what I can see, completely blows us out of the water. And it's because of the fact that he cared about what he was doing. And like the guy, not like the guy, whatever your situation was with him, the one thing that I can tell you is I know for a fact he went out doing what he loved. According to his family, he was found in his office working at his computer on the stuff for Red State on the day that he passed. And that was just about 3 or 4 days before we left for CPAC. So I don't want to take up too much time with it because, again, I don't really know him that well, and I don't want to step on all of the other brilliant tributes that the man has had, but I just want to tell you the conservative world has lost a giant. And that giant was Primo. All right, so before I start doing the non-manly thing and start tearing up here, which, yes, I have been known to do, go ahead, start the Glenn Beck jokes. It's okay, I can take them. I have to tell you, first impressions on CPAC is, like I said, this was my first time there. It was insane. Dude, I took a picture of the lobby and posted it on my personal Facebook page. You could fit like 10 of my houses in the lobby of the Gaylord Hotel. So I'm all like, and this is just me, because remember, small town, used to paying about a quarter of what you pay there for most everything. And I'm not going to go into any of the pricing, but those of you that have been there, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm all looking at the lobby thinking, dude, where have they got me staying? So I'm like, a quarter. And so then I finally get to the room. Of course, I'm lugging my own bags because there's no way that I'm paying some guy to take my bags to the room. So I've got my laptop bag, I've got the carry-on bag, and I've got the luggage that I checked, and I'm just lugging them all through the hallway and the lobby, which is about a half mile long, just to get to the elevator. And this is after I checked in, by the way. Then we got to go up to the 7th floor. Then I got to go find my room, and it's like the freaking Shining in there. I mean, there's like yellow walls, red carpet, tons of turns, and I'm just waiting for the little red rum kid to come pouring out of one of the doors or something. But so anyway, so I finally find the room, and I'm like, well, surely with as nice as the rest of this hotel was, my room is going to be awesome. I opened it up. It's what I could have got here for about a quarter of the price. So basically what I was paying for was the name, the huge lobby, and the fact that if you've never been there, you really should go at least once, because you can get some awesome pictures of an atrium level that actually makes it look like the hotel at a small town. Because, I mean, I'm telling you, it really is that big. It's basically its own self-contained city. There are shops, there's food. You don't even necessarily have to leave the hotel. That is, of course, if you don't mind paying an arm and a leg to eat. Made the mistake of ordering room service one night. Trust me, that won't happen again. All right, so anyway, biggest surprises for CPAC, because with the way Trump comes across on social media and as popular as he seems to be on social media, there was a debate while we were at CPAC. They held it in a very large room. A lot of the people were there. There was, alcohol, which made it a little more interesting, I guess. But at the same time, the anti-Trump crowd was out in force. So much so that I'm pretty sure that's the reason why Donald Trump decided to cancel CPAC, because he was supposed to be there Saturday. I believe the debate was Thursday. We got word Friday that he had canceled, was not going to be appearing. I guarantee you it was because he had people on the ground and they realized just how negatively he was being felt there, because nobody at CPAC other than, I mean, don't get me wrong, there were red hats. There were lots of red hats until Friday. When they figured out old Donnie wasn't coming, the red hats suddenly went away. And yes, I call them red hats on purpose. For those of you who don't know, that's a reference to a new sci-fi show on USA called The Colony. If you haven't watched it, I do suggest that you do so if you are a sci-fi fan. It's a little bit different, but it's an interesting parallel considering there were all kinds of people running around CPAC with red hats on that were Donald Trump supporters, and there's an entire group of a police force on this particular show that are called the Red Hats. Parallel? Not so sure. I'm actually in a couple of groups on Twitter. One of the running themes for the last few days has been, if Donald Trump gets elected, we're pretty sure we're watching the beginnings of the prequel to The Purge. With as angry as the country is right now, I'm not so sure I disagree. Of course, for any of you who weren't paying attention, Donald Trump wound up canceling a rally, or postponing a rally yesterday, because of protesters. Now, of course, it's all the protesters' faults because they stepped on his First Amendment rights and everybody else's First Amendment rights. Here's the thing about First Amendment, folks. Nobody's First Amendment right trumps anybody else's First Amendment right. And yes, that was intentional. Just saying. Yeah, I know, I went there. I said no one's First Amendment rights trump anyone else's First Amendment rights. That includes Donald Trump. Because the simple fact of the matter is, those people have the ability to protest. They have the right to protest. They have the right to do so peacefully. And it is guaranteed by the Constitution. But he doesn't want you to think that way. He wants you to think that anyone who is speaking in any type of a dissenting way is an enemy not only to him, but to you. This is the same guy who not once but twice had people in rallies trying to tell them that they needed to swear loyalty to him. It didn't go over well with one of them because, he had his hand up the way, because Hitler never really did the full-on salute. It was always just more kind of like the hand raised up. And then it was always the crowd that was doing the Sieg Heil, Sieg Heil. And that's exactly what it looked like, because that's how the crowd was raising their arm when they said that they were going to swear loyalty to him. Now, I have a question for those of you that apparently are not paying attention. Do you really think that we need a president who is asking the country to swear loyalty to him? Not to borrow from Cruz, but Cruz got it right. The presidential candidates are interviewing for the position to be our leader. They should not be asking us to swear loyalty to them. They should be swearing loyalty to us. This is something that Cruz has done time and time and time and time again. And the Trump camp does nothing but call him a liar and call him ineligible. I have a newsflash for you folks who maybe some of you out there in the Trump camp do not understand how the election process works. Each state has to vet a candidate's eligibility before they can ever be placed on the ballot. There is no way that Cruz could be considered ineligible and make it onto every single ballot that he's been on, because each state has to vet the candidate before they get there. It's the same argument that I started trying to use when the Obama argument first started coming out about how, he can't be legal because blah, blah, blah. Look, and remember, in the beginning, I bought it too, because I bought into the, natural-born citizen, yada, yada, yada. But the thing about it is, you got to start doing some research. The Constitution never actually defines what a natural-born citizen is. A natural-born citizen is a citizen of this country born to at least one American parent, which is the case in the instance of Cruz, which is why he is eligible. The only reason Donald Trump started circulating the ineligible argument is because the same reason that Hillary Clinton started circulating the ineligible argument, because all of a sudden, someone that he thought could never lay a glove on him is closing distance and closing the ranks. His camp still wants you to believe there's no way that Cruz can get the nomination. They're only 100 delegates apart right now. Cruz and Trump are the only ones that can get the nomination. At this point, Kasich is holding out for Ohio because what he's hoping he's going to be able to do is likely win Ohio and then leverage those delegate counts to be put towards whoever decides that they want to make him their VP so that he gets so they get his delegates. Sorry, tripping over my own tongue. Sorry, sometimes I get frustrated with all of this because I don't understand this anymore. I mean, look, I'm not necessarily endorsing anyone. I'm not going to tell you how I voted in the primary other than to tell you that I voted never Trump. Because it's not my job to tell you who to vote for and what to think. It's my job to show you the pieces and let you draw your own conclusions. So let's look at this very carefully. Piece by piece, one bit at a time. Donald Trump says he's going to loosen libel laws if he becomes president to make it easier to sue the press. Is upset when anyone speaks out against him. Not only that, but encourages supporters. If you see anyone start trying to throw a tomato or anything else at me, please feel free to beat the crap out of them and I will pay your legal fees. And yes, I did paraphrase that slightly, but it's still basically what he said. One of the people in his camp has been accused of manhandling a reporter, and one of their biggest things is, well, she didn't file a police report. Well, guess what? She has now. And you're telling me that the day that she files the police report, there just happens to be this big uprising and you decide to cancel a rally in one area, but you're going to continue to go into other areas that are even more opposed to you than the area that you were originally going to speak in. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, folks. I mean, look, this is Cloward, Piven, and Alinsky. Those are the tactics that are being used now by both parties. There is no clear distinction any longer between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. And it's just like what I put out right before I went on the air. I didn't leave the GOP. The GOP left me. When they decided to put up somebody like Trump, and then at the same time have people behind the scenes telling Kasich and Rubio to stay in the race because at some point they're going to get them to a brokered convention and one of them is going to get the nomination. Because look, you saw it as well as I did. Rubio's flat out telling people to not vote for him in Ohio but to vote for Kasich because they want to get to the brokered convention. Someone is telling Rubio that if he gets to the convention and they can get it to the point where it has to go brokered, that he's going to be the one to get the nomination. So we have one side of the party that is completely trying to destroy anything the party ever stood for by putting up someone who is completely not conservative and a complete and total clown. And we have the establishment folks that are backing Rubio, that are telling him just stay with us a while longer, do what we tell you to do, and we'll make sure that you get the nomination. If either Trump or Rubio get the nomination at this point, we're screwed. Trump loses to Hillary in every single poll I've ever seen because nobody trusts him. You have to look at the negative favorability ratings because we're talking about a general election, folks. If you want to know why there are times when Trump gets above that 36% ceiling and gets closer to 40, 42%, look at the states that are open primaries. How many Democrats right now are crossing party lines to vote for Trump? If you think they're doing that because they actually want to support Trump, I have a bridge in Brooklyn I would like to sell you. What they're trying to do is make sure that the guy that they know they can beat makes it to the general election. It's the same thing they've done to us every election cycle since Bush 43. And they even tried to do it in the first election cycle with Bush 43. And then with all the hanging Chad incidents and everything else, they basically started saying that Bush 43 stole the election, blah, 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 yada, 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 that everything should be a popular vote. And you know what? I was young enough and stupid enough back then that I honestly kind of thought they had a point. And then I realized just how bad a popular vote election could be. Case in point, this election right here. Popular opinion will put Trump into the nomination. Because he's got enough of the popular opinion and enough people crossing party lines to get him to the point where he's going to get the nomination if Kasich and Rubio do not exit the race. Especially now that Carson has sold out America and sold out his principles, all in hopes to either become vice president or Surgeon General. I'm not sure which one he wants. I'm pretty sure he'll be sleeping through both, but I'm pretty sure he was offered something. I can't think of any other reason why someone who was basically portrayed as a pedophile, or I'm sorry, since I was in a Twitter argument for someone yesterday, I guess I should rephrase that a little bit, because Trump compared Carson's inability to tell the truth to the same incurable disease that causes something like pedophilia. Now, apparently, if you split hairs, that's not Trump calling Carson a pedophile. I don't split hairs. Trump called Carson a pedophile. He equated him to being a child molester. And if you think the American public split hairs on that, then you're the one that needs to pay closer attention, and you know who I'm talking to. Now, you tell me that with all the negative stuff and all of the backbiting and all of the fighting, why was it that in one of the last debates that Carson was in, I think, was it 3 debates ago, where they said his name and he didn't come out and everybody else is, blowing by him to get out to the stage? Who was it? Who was it that stayed back with him till they said his name again? Anybody? Bueller? Bueller. It was Trump. Now, you tell me, knowing what we know now, you tell me that wasn't some sort of a hat tip of some kind. Because this makes no sense to me, folks. I mean, look, I respected Carson. I couldn't put him in the White House because he was too nice of a guy. I didn't think that he had what it took. The thing about it is, we've gone from one extreme to the other. Because Carson is way too nice. Trump is a shark. The problem with a shark is they always have to keep moving. The problem with a shark is they don't differentiate targets. When they get hungry, they eat. Doesn't matter if it's surfboard, doesn't matter if it's a license plate. That's why they equate businessmen to sharks, because they always have to keep moving forward. They can't stand still. And at the same time, they don't really care about who they hurt as long as they get where they want to go. This has been Trump for decades. And again, I want to remind all of you that keep telling me that he is not a professional politician. The man has been running for president since 1988 and failed every single time until now. To be continued on whether he fails or not at this point, because with as angry as the American public is and the fact that he's managed to find a way to tap into it, I'm not so sure he's not going to get the nomination. What I can tell you at this point is for all of you that keep telling me that a vote against Trump in the general is a vote for Hillary, obviously you don't understand how the election process works. Oklahoma has 77 counties. Each of those counties in the last election voted red. There was not a single blue county in my state. Which means it doesn't really matter. I could write in Mickey Mouse. I could write in Donald Duck. I could write in Hammy 2016, which is what I probably plan on doing. Shout out to E2 Pilot. By the way, brother, thanks for hanging out with me on that first show at CPAC. That was awesome. At some point, I'll get you the audio file when they get it to me. But anyway, so it doesn't really matter because my state's going to go red anyway. I did my part in the primary by not voting Trump. In the general, my vote really doesn't matter very much. It's one of the reasons why a while ago I actually was leaning more towards the idea of instead of giving... Well, I kind of like the popular vote idea because then at least your vote does matter. But the more I started to understand the system and how it works, I understand the brilliance of it. It's just another form of checks and balances. That's all it is. It's another way to make sure that angry people voting with their angry pants on can't destabilize an entire country, which is, at this point, exactly what's about to happen if we're not very careful. All right, so at this point, we have run a little long on this segment. I'm going to have to take a quick break. You are listening to America Off the Rails on Red State Talk Radio on this really early Sunday morning. I do hope you're enjoying that cup of coffee. We'll be right back with you here in just a couple minutes. All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
The wrong way. Welcome to the place.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method, and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
Red State Talk Radio. Talk radio the way the Founding Fathers would have done it.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry, or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
All right, guys, we're ready for our four-season sunroom, and Daddy's gonna get a rec room with refreshments.
Oh, no. We'll be sleeping under the stars.
Mom, what about the one with, the fun?
Nice try, little bro. It's a gym. My gym.
Hey, Grandma's getting her Four Seasons garden room. Weather tight and still like being outdoors.
Maybe a living room. Oh, no, wait. A family hub.
Yeah!
No matter what the budget, the season, or the climate, Four Seasons Sunrooms let you and your family enjoy the outdoors inside. Call now to receive your free, no-obligation brochure from the premier manufacturer of sunrooms since 1975.
More reasons for Four Seasons now.
To find out more, call toll-free 800-928-7007. That's 800-928-7007. Call 800-928-7007 today.
All right, folks, we are back. We are live. This is America Off the Rails. I'm your host, Rick Robinson, and we are into the last half of the show. My, oh my, where does the time go? All right, since I didn't do it at the beginning, just want to remind you folks, in case you like us here, there are several ways that you can interact with me while I'm not on with Red State. You can follow me on Twitter at AOTR_host. You can interact with me using email address of your choosing. We have two, because at this point I am actually working in two separate capacities. We have Ricky at thesparkradionetwork.com and Rick at K98talk.org. You can also find my professional page on Facebook. No, I'm not giving you my personal one. You can go to www.facebook.com/Rowdy Ricky Robinson. Shoot me a friend request. We'll hang out. We'll chat. We'll talk. It'll be fun. Now, also, since we haven't done this in a while, I want to give a shout out to a couple of couple of sponsors that we don't necessarily have commercials for. Sorry, folks. I'd planned on making sure I had cough drops in reach before we started doing the show today, and I didn't quite get there, so I do apologize for all the coughing. CPAC flu, apparently it's a real thing. JD's been down with it for days. Ever since I got back home, I've been feeling like somebody ran me over with a truck. But anyway, it was a fun trip. It was worth it. And like I said, we're going to be doing it every year for as long as we are still doing radio. However, if we have a President Trump, I'm pretty sure that most of my crew will wind up in a re-education camp. We're actually working on putting together a bit of a parody bit about that, where we're going to have this whole thing where it talks about live from re-education camp 33, building H bunk 12. It's the America Off the Rail show or some such silly thing like that. Because, look, we can make fun of it and we can laugh about it, or we can completely freak out, because at this point, I think we're a lot closer to that than anybody wants to admit. And I don't think it matters at this point whether it's Hillary or Trump that gets the nod. I think we're a lot closer to that than anybody wants to admit. And that's what has me completely terrified. But speaking of being terrified and things that you can do about it, and then I want to take things local for a second, because for once my state actually is doing something that I like. I mean, come on, I live in a red state, but sometimes, and we'll get to that in a second, I guess. But concealandcarry.net. So let's say you're like me, or you were like I once was, and you are wanting to see about getting some weapons training, maybe some gear, things like that, and you're not sure where to start. You have access to the internet. A pretty easy way to do it. Fire up your web browser. Go to www.concealandcarry.net. It's pretty easy to find. Put the word conceal, the letter N, the word carry, then a .net all together on your browser. Hit enter. It's going to take you to a website that actually has a depiction of the map of the 48 contiguous states. I don't think they have anything in Alaska or Hawaii yet. But that being said, if you are in any of those states, you can click on a map. It will take you to see what is available in your state as far as firearms training, me trying to talk, take three, the equipment that goes with firearms, and everything else that you need to be able to do what you want to do and be able to exercise your Second Amendment rights, which I do highly encourage everyone to do. If you are above the age of 21 and you have not done anything crazy and you are not on any type of special medication, I do always encourage you to find a way to exercise your Second Amendment rights. Those are just as important, if not as important, as your First Amendment rights. Because when somebody tries to take out the first, you're going to need the second. Just saying. All right, so back to taking things local for a second. And speaking of Second Amendment, see, there's a reason why I mentioned that sponsor and then went into this show. Okay, so those of you who've been listening long enough, you know my background. Former private security officer, private investigators, time in law enforcement, lots of time in uniform, both in and out of public sector. So, I am familiar with firearms training and firearms and how they work, and like to go spend time at the range. One of the things that honestly drove me nuts, and this is just my little personal aside, is when they went to the concealed carry permit. And honestly, I'm kicking myself for it, because there was a time, both of my capacities, that I could have gotten the concealed carry permit for like $10. And just been like, look, here's this card. Yeah, and I didn't do it. I could probably still do it if I really wanted to push the issue. But the reason I bring this up, I may not have to. Oklahoma just passed a bill through our House that would make open carry constitutional carry, which again means as long as you are above the age of 21, because of course you have to be 21 to actually have a sidearm, not a rifle, you would have the ability, as long as you are not convicted of any crimes that prohibit you from carrying a firearm or anything else that would stop you from being able to carry a firearm, to carry in public. So, of course, as you can imagine, my state is in a bit of a schism. We have the folks that are anti-gun, and there are more of them here than you might think. They're like, oh my God, there's going to be shootouts in the Walmart checkout line. We're going back to the Wild Wild West. Okay, so I'm not sure if this is going to help or make the situation worse, but let me explain a few things to you. As it stands right now, even if you are a concealed carry permit holder, you still have to follow posted no gun signs when you're going into businesses. Now, here's the thing that nobody really takes into account, because they just assume that everybody's going to follow those signs and do the right thing and not take their gun in there. But the thing about it is, it's a trespass charge. is all you can be hit with right now in the state of Oklahoma if you ignore one of those signs. If someone sees you or realizes that you're carrying a gun, they have to ask you to leave or to go put the gun up. If you refuse at that point, you can have a police officer brought out to the location and have you cited for misdemeanor trespass. That is the extent of the punishment for that right now, which in my instances is actually a good thing because, I'm the guy that likes to carry. Not going to say whether I do or I don't on live radio, but I will tell you that I'm the guy that likes to carry. Not all the time, not everywhere, but I do like to carry. So that being said, one of the biggest things that I keep trying to point out to everybody is constitutional carry is not going to overlay anything else that's already on the books. That means that you're not going to be able to take your gun into places like Walmart because they're going to see that you have it out and they're going to make you put it up. Now, if you're dumb enough to be carrying on constitutional carry and then you're crazy enough to go ahead and try to put the gun in your waistband and say, they can't stop me from taking it into Walmart, and then Walmart sees you and they call the cops out to do the usual trespass thing because you won't put the gun up, and then the cops figure out you don't have a concealed carry permit, guess what? It's not just a misdemeanor trespass ticket anymore. So in some ways, I think this is actually going to be a good thing because it's going to make it easier for us to actually enforce against the folks that are still violating the rules, and they're going to be violating them even a much bigger way now. But it's also going to make folks like me feel a lot more safe because here's the thing. I spent a good portion of my life with a gun on my hip, both exposed and unexposed. Whether anybody wants to admit it or not, seeing someone with a weapon and actually knowing they have one is an instant deterrent. The thing about concealed carry, and there are some things that make it, each has their own arguments, I'm not going to lie. The thing about concealed carry is if you've got somebody going into a hostile environment, they don't know who's got a gun and who doesn't, so they're liable to be a little more careful. Wearing your gun on your hip, especially if you're one of the only ones that's doing it, is probably going to make you a target. But if we get to the point where we're constitutional carry and everybody that can legally carry a gun is carrying a gun, think about what would have happened in France. That's what everybody keeps talking about is the recent shootings in France and how it was so low tech and all they had to do was get their hands on some weapons and they were able to do all of this damage just by synchronizing their watch. It wasn't this big elaborate plan. It didn't have anything to do with electronics. All they had to have was a gun and a watch. If France was a constant, it doesn't work there because they don't have the same constitution. But let's just say for the sake of argument that France did have the ability for their citizenry to openly carry in the public, even if it was just in the city where the attack happened. How much different would that have been? Think about it this way. Go back to 1941-ish when Pearl Harbor happened and a lot of the Japanese admirals were going to the emperor and saying, look, at this point, since we've been able to successfully do this to Hawaii, we need to keep pushing forward and we need to push to go into California. The emperor looked at them like they were crazy and said, are you kidding me? If we try to make it into the U.S. mainland, there will be a gun behind every blade of grass. This is why constitutional carry is a good thing. If you want to deter terrorism, especially the old school, low-key, have a gun, synchronize your watch type of terrorism, which is what everybody's going back to at this point. Look at this. Look at it. The last few attacks that they've gotten away with have been completely low tech. They've been using things like pressure cookers or a watch to synchronize their movements so that everybody can move at the same time. If we get back to the point where everyone who can legally carry a weapon is carrying a weapon when they're in public spaces, how many terrorist attacks are going to be stopped by that alone? It doesn't make any sense for me, for you, to be living in fear about whether or not someone else is going to be carrying a gun. The thing to keep in mind is the majority of this, unless you have a concealed carry permit, is going to be happening in open public spaces with unposted signage, that doesn't say, hey, no guns here. So if you are not one of the folks that carry a gun, and all of a sudden you see someone walking towards you that is carrying a gun, you have the ability to decide if you're going to continue moving in that person's direction or you're going to cross the street, go the other way, whatever it is that you decide you need to do to make yourself feel more comfortable. So my question again is, why all the fear? Because we live in a time and in a day and age when we honestly do not know who is going to be a friend and who is going to be a foe. That is why Donald Trump is doing so well in the polls. He's managed to tap into the fact that there is an entire segment of the world's population that right now our country is deathly afraid of. And he doesn't hide that fact either. And actually, that reminds me. I actually forgot I had this, and it fits perfectly with what I was saying. See, I do outlines and maps and everything, and then I get talking, and I kind of go off in tangents, and somehow subconsciously I still get back where I need to go. So let's listen to this real quick, because it ties in perfectly to what I was just talking about.
Mr. Trump, let me start with you. Last night you told CNN, quote, Islam. Did you mean all 1.6 billion Muslims?
I mean a lot of them. I had the wrong button. Let's back it up.
Mr. Trump, let me start with you. Last night you told CNN, quote, Islam hates us. Did you mean all 1.6 billion Muslims?
I mean a lot of them. I mean a lot of them.
Do you want to clarify the comment at all?
Well, you know, I've been watching the debate today, and they're talking about radical Islamic terrorism or radical Islam, but I will tell you there's something going on that maybe you don't know about and maybe a lot of other people don't know about, but there's tremendous hatred, and I will stick with exactly what I said to Anderson Cooper.
All right, so, and here's the thing, folks, he doesn't even hide it. He basically just said, look, I pretty much mean all of them. And look, there was a time, and I'm not even hiding this fact from you because you've heard me say it before. There was a time that I agreed with him. The thing about it is, though, the more that I see him putting voice to some of the thoughts that were in my head, the more crazy and outlandish they sound, because I was one of the people that was living in fear. I was terrified of what was going to happen if we continued to let all of these people come into the country. There are ways that we can do this without segregating out an entire group of people. Now, I'm not saying that one thing that I do agree with him on, and this is going to catch some flack, get me some flack, I'm sure, is until we can get the situation resolved with immigration. And no, I don't mean by building a wall. We don't honestly need a wall anymore, folks. We can do the wall electronically. That's the thing that nobody's talking about. He's talking about all of this expense that we are going to have because Mexico's not going to pay for the wall, when at this point we can actually do the same thing electronically. We have the technology now to monitor everyone that comes across our border with facial recognition, fingerprinting, and everything else that we now have instant or pretty close to instant access to, whether anybody wants to tell you that or not. We could know everyone that's coming across our border. It's pretty simple. But the thing about it is, are we willing to cross those lines? Because in some instances, it means that more and more freedoms are going to go away. This is where we have to walk the tightrope. We have to decide which is more important, freedom or security. I always side with freedom. I always side with freedom. It's pretty simple. It's easy enough to remember that freedom has to come first. It's the reason why when George W. Bush started making noise about the Patriot Act, that I started yammering against it. Because look at what's happened with the Patriot Act since he made it part of American society. Look at what he's decided to do with it. Now look at what Obama's done with it. We now have companies that are being required or were being required to send their information over to the federal government in regards to what we are doing as private American citizens. The thing about it is everybody wants to talk about how that's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. It actually skirts it a little bit. Because I'm going to tell you this right now, and not everybody wants you to know this. When I was working private security and didn't have a state seal on my badge, you weren't protected against anything that I did based on the Fourth Amendment because I was not acting as a government entity. The government is not commandeering the information. They're not strong-arming the information. They're simply requesting the information. As long as they are not making or forcing the companies to give them the information, Scary part is there really isn't any Fourth Amendment protection, because you sign all of this paperwork from the beginning that says that your information is going to be a part of their database and they have the ability to do with it what they choose. That also means turning it over to the government. So my honest recommendation to all of you that have been freaked out about that is let that sink in for a second, and then what you really need to do is start deciding who you're going to do business with, because you can figure out who's been giving the information to the government on their own and who's been being compelled. The ones that are being compelled, if the government's making them do it, then you have a case against the government for Fourth Amendment unreasonable search and seizure. If they're turning it over on their own, then you do not. All right. So at this point, we are getting down to about the end of the show. We got about 3 minutes until I got to cut my way out of here. So just as a reminder, the other thing I wanted to remind you of in case you are listening for the first time, and I'm sorry if I sound a little discombobulated for the moment. I've actually had a couple of messages coming in that I've been trying to keep up with while I have been talking to you, and multitasking is not always my friend. All right, but anyway, we are coming to the end of the show. If you do like the show here on Red State, I do encourage you to check it out in all of the other places that it is available. Typically, we do have a live broadcast every Monday through Friday at 11 p.m. Eastern on my home station and home network, the Spark Radio Network, and K98Talk.org is where you can find the live traffic there. .com is currently active, but is a little behind. We've had to make some changes, so the mirror site's the only one that's keeping up right now while we're trying to work out a few other things. And then, of course, the show can be heard every Thursday on WNJC 1360 AM out of Philadelphia. And then, of course, it can be heard on Leading Edge Radio Network. Unfortunately, High Point Radio out of New Jersey has changed formats. I just received an email from them shortly after returning from CPAC, so my show will no longer be available there. They're actually going to start live streaming another station's content. I do want to take a moment to say thank you very much to the folks over there for the opportunity. I'm really sorry that the content that we brought over there to you couldn't get it to the point where you were actually able to do what it was that you wanted to do, and I'm sorry that you've had to change formats, but it was an honor to be over there, and I want to take a second to tell you that as well. All right, so as we get ready to get out of here, folks, I just want to remind you of the same thing that I remind you of every time we talk. Even if you disagree with 99.9% of everything that comes out of my mouth, it's time for you to find a way to get involved. I don't care if it's starting a Facebook page. I don't care if it's starting a Twitter page, because let's face it, not everybody has the same physical abilities as everyone else. But you can take a few minutes and you can actually find a way to make a difference if you choose to. Another way to do it in this day and age and in this particular election cycle is figure out a way to push for the guy that you like. I don't care if it's Trump. I don't care if it's Cruz. I don't care if it's Kasich. Find a way to push for the guy that you like. Tell people why you like him. Let's stop focusing so much on the negatives and start focusing on the positives. The problem is right now Donald Trump has everybody focusing on the negatives, and he keeps your attention there because as long as you're focusing on what he wants you to focus on, you're not paying attention to what he's honestly telling you. What he's telling you, if you would bother to listen, should scare the daylights out of you as an average American citizen. He again is talking about targeting the First Amendment. He again is talking about and has been a fan of all kinds of different types of gun regulations. So we really at this point need to stop and think about what it is that he's saying, how he's going to say it, and what it is that he's going to do. All right, so at this point, folks, I really do have to get out of here. We will be back with you live next Sunday. And again, I apologize for all the Facebook dings. One of the other station managers is frantically asking me for a show because he's got a spot that I've got that he needs to get filled up. So I'm going to jump off here real quick and go see if I can help him get that sorted out. Bear with me for just a second while I get a couple of the things queued up here because I've been talking to him and I lost track of what I was doing. All right, so anyway, at this point, folks, it is time for me to cut a trail. I'll be back with you next week right here on Red State Talk Radio. Again, just as a reminder, get off the couch. Find a way to get involved. Do something to make a difference. Don't just sit on your couch and gripe. Doesn't work anymore. Back with you next week. God willing, God bless America, and rest in peace, Nancy Reagan.
Screw you guys. I'm going home. Later. Game over, man. It's game over.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
The leader in talk radio on the internet, right here on K98Talk.com.
If you want to work until you keel over, have less of everything in retirement, or give back more of your hard-earned money to the stock market again, then just ignore me. But if you'd like to protect the money you save, receive a steady, predictable retirement income, and enjoy financial security for as long as you live, then listen to this. You can download a free report that reveals the wealth-building secrets Wall Street and the banks don't want you to know. You'll learn how you can get guaranteed growth, safety, and real prosperity without risking your money in the Wall Street casino, and how to get the money you need when you need it, simply by asking for it. This is the best way to have a 100% secure retirement, and know your money will last as long as you do. To learn more about this method and to get your free report, go to 29security.com. That's the number 29security.com. 29security.com. Go to 29security.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
phone calls. We got a pen and telephone to bypass all the laws.
All right, folks, this is Rick Robinson with you. I want to tell you about some friends of mine from a company called Security Enforcement Specialists. When I ran my security agency for 12 years, I worked with one of these partners on a daily basis. He's been involved in this agency now, and with his other partner, they do have over 30 years of experience in the private security industry. If you own a business and you need someone to keep you or your customers or residents safe, then I highly recommend contacting Security Enforcement Specialists today. Give them a call at 405-703-1796. Again, that's 405-703-1796. Again, tell them Rick from K98 Talk sent you. Like I said, if you need the help, they are here for you. So make sure that you go look them up, check them out, and see what they can do.
The wrong way. Welcome to the place.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The Internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.